Marius like highlighted liquidity at the beginning. Like, again, that's one of those chicken or egg. People don't adopt it unless there's enough of those counterparties and liquidity available. And so it's really about kind of both having supply and demand emerge and kind of interoperability between assets of interest, and then the marketplaces that facilitate that interaction and that matching process, whether that's through centralized exchanges or DeFi as it happens.
Automated market makers, I think, will help improve that liquidity because they can capture a long tail of assets better than technologies like order books can.
And a sort of secret sauce that will allow liquidity providers to get more of the profits normally lost to arbitrage, and it will be bolstered by incentive programs. The value proposition of XRP is that it has these liquidity pools. Automated market makers on the XRP ledger could be a game changer, uniquely positioning it to leapfrog other DEXs.
The XRP ledger is poised to become an ecosystem of cooperatively interconnected XRPL protocol chains.
The value proposition of XRP is that it has these liquidity pools.
Early vision was these pools of liquidity that everybody can contribute to and everybody can draw off, that are kind of unbundled from the payment system or the asset that you're using to pay with. Automated market makers, I think, will help improve that liquidity because they can capture a long tail of assets better than technologies like order books can.
Welcome to the DeFi Standard, and this is Mickey B. Fresh. Now, by using ODL and Liquidity Hub, you're getting organic volume through these pools. And since it's all unified on the mainnet, and then you'll have sidechains which have pools too. This is TVL. It's going to lock up a ton of XRP. But here's the key. Since XRP's utility is as liquidity, it's providing a service. So it's organically earning from users who are paying reasonable fees. Each pool will decide based on the top liquidity providers how much the fee will be. And 30 basis points, they'll pay that. They don't care what the price is because they just need it for liquidity. They're shooting off payments into a corridor and it will get routed through. Prisma will route it through primary market liquidity. Primary market is the XRP ledger. It has its own liquidity market. That's the ideal place. Ethereum doesn't have primary market liquidity. Bitcoin doesn't. Uniswap isn't primary market. That's a dApp. Their liquidity tokens aren't guaranteed by Ethereum blockchain. They have front running and all this other stuff. The XRP ledger doesn't have that. And it's able to now, anyone can deposit in these pools. And then this drives a lending and borrowing market next to it. Locks up even more XRP. But from the core documents, Prisma is powering ODL flow and is going to provide connectivity to all of the exchanges and aggregate liquidity with a single API. In addition to that, we're going to be building upon Prisma so it can intelligently route transactions between venues and ultimately drive natural liquidity on the platform. AMM liquidity pools are the most natural liquidity. So the XRP ledger and XRP, the asset, is a new asset class. Why is it a new asset class? Because it has protocols, and those protocols allow it to do cross-currency atomic payments natively on its blockchain, on its distributed ledger. And it has a built-in distributed exchange with multi-currency trading that anyone can access. We're going to look at the liquidity flywheel. And the liquidity flywheel is something that I find the perfect example of what will give you a visual of how this is going to work. I'm sure many of you will get this. Some of you, it might go over the top of your head, but stick with me here. So volume through the pools means increased fees, which means increased liquidity provider returns. Now there's a continuous auction mechanism, and since the XRP ledger, it's at a network layer, the arbitrageurs will be paying for the rights. So that's additional revenue. That drives up liquidity returns, right? Which means deeper liquidity because more people now come into the pool. Drives liquidity deeper. And what does that do? Drives slippage down. Slippage goes down, volume goes up. And then volume goes up means the fees go up. Fees go up, liquidity providers make more. And round we go. That's the liquidity flywheel. That is what is going to drive the value of XRP up. Once you have the liquidity at the bottom, it's not a smart contract liquidity. This is built into the network. So that means you can build little smart contract applications on top of it. It's going to be far superior than Uniswap. Banks aren't holding XRP. Why? The Basel III BIS regulations, 1,250% capital requirements of collateral for holding crypto on their balance sheets. So that means for every $1 of crypto that they own on their own balance sheet, they need $12.50. They're not owning, they're not holding it. Now, will they provide services to their customers and custody services and other types of things? Yes. So that drives more volume in. But instead of just like looking at the shiny, fancy thing, like, oh, Bank of America's going to use XRP, that's not going to do anything for the price. Absolutely zero. It would have a quick flash in the pan and that'd be it. But they're not using it. Like, that's not the goal. Like, that's maybe where it gets to eventually, but it makes a good story and a headline. And it's been something they targeted and they pivoted. David Schwartz has said, our target is not banks. It's not big banks. It's the smaller banks, but they have to provide an ecosystem first and not just ODL. ODL in itself is like the first product that uses XRP. And I think everyone wants it to be there. This is it. That's flips get switched, but it's not. We need to change our mindset, be open-minded that it's a gradual, it's a journey we're on. And it's a new asset class. We're 3 years into DeFi. DeFi is the financial market of crypto. This community has a problem and is lacking in its understanding of DeFi. That's bad. That's sad too, because that's where the value is and that's where you're going to make the most money. So that's kind of like a contradictory thing of where the community acts. And the psychology of the community is important. We're powerful. Look at what we accomplished with Deaton and the SEC. Like, that is a massive accomplishment. There's been great influence out there, but now time to pivot to what's right in front of us. The Zahao sidechain is going to launch. It's going to burn XRP. All the XRP that goes over there is going to be burned. That's going to help drive demand, because it's a burn. It's demand. It's got to come from somewhere. So that's going to be big. And then the hooks burns the transactions fees. And I know there's a little inflation rate there, but for the most part, the transaction fees of hooks will balance that out. So it'll be still more burning of XRP than there will be, than that's created of that XRP plus. And I'm super excited for that. I mean, that's going to really demonstrate what's capable of the protocol, because that's where the utility is. It's a different version of it, still using the same asset. The Futureverse. XRP is the base gas token. Every AMM pool is going to be paired with XRP. I think Crypto Eddie put out the video, and she's done a phenomenal job just covering this and just understands where this is going towards. This is definitely not all just Ripple. Like, they're a serious player, but if you just ignore what's going on in the ledger and you think I'm here just for money, well, they're going to turn this on and then I'm going to be out. Like, that's not the right mindset to have. And if anybody's telling you that, you might want to rethink about, where you get information from, because not all information is created equally. And I think that there is ability for people to learn, and I'm talking about this not to put anybody down, just to make it awareness, because it's like people can't talk about, but it's got to be talked about. And we haven't even hit the overwhelming stage yet. This is the lull before everything else. That's why you're getting the regurgitated info and people aren't sure and the flipping the switches, because we're in that in between, like the ETH, ICO stuff. Like, that's interesting and all that, but we still need to keep our eye on the prize, which is, everyone agrees, I think, that utility, right? Utility. So the protocol's utility is as liquidity. I think if we keep it simple, I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible, but it's hard because it's complex. There's no way somebody outside of the community would ever even understand this. And if you're fairly new, I totally understand if this is going over your head a little bit, but that's okay, because this is the first you're hearing about it. I'm the first kind of bringing it out. You're going to hear about it more and more and more. So just keep listening, absorb it, and try to keep an open mind and follow what the facts are. Like, David Schwartz is the chief strategist. He is leading the direction of what Ripple's doing, and in a way, what the amendments on the ledger are doing. Like, yes, RippleX proposed the amendment. They don't control if it passes or fails, but they have plans to build things on top of that. Once we get the identity, which isn't the most sexy or coolest or interesting topic to discuss, but it's super important, because when we have our own self-sovereign digital identity, you're not going to have to worry about going to these exchanges and off-ramps and exit strategies and charts. And charts are a tool, but I would not hang my hat on charts going forward with this type of fundamental analysis. This will definitely change the way any chart reacts, because it's creating an organic demand. Like, even stocks don't have organic demand. I mean, some will say, okay, from pension funds and 401ks, there's a continuous demand from those speculators, but that's all they're doing is speculating. Like, if the Apple does better in their business and they make more profits, it doesn't cause the stock to go up directly in price. It's still the speculators that determine, oh wow, okay, it went up, now it's valued higher. So they're speculating on its value. What's unique about this is its actual demand is driving the value, because it's supply and demand. They need the asset because it needs to be provided as liquidity for this exchange, which is an on-ledger value exchange. And those cross-border payments are the first transactional volume that's going to demand it. It demands the liquidity. And you need the supply from somewhere. So the price is determined on the exchanges still, for now and for the foreseeable future. So as it pulls it off there, it drives the price up. So supply goes down, demand goes up, price goes up, right? It's simple economics. That I think we all understand. And this will attract speculators then. So speculators will pour in on top of this, and that will drive the ecosystem to build derivatives, because this is at the lowest layer. So it makes it very easy to build an application that taps into it for traders, for liquidity providers, for anything. The one thing that's still missing, there's two things. Stable coins, so regulated stable coins. Like, there's been some whispers of, well, is ODL going to use stable coins? Ripple's pivoting away from XRP. I don't understand the Ripple pivoting away from XRP. It's at the heart of everything. Prisma's North Star is XRP liquidity. Liquidity Hub XRP needs to be liquid to every asset as possible. So it's not just XRP or nothing. And if stablecoin is running through ODL and it goes through the XRP USD pool, it's going XRP, it's going USD into XRP. But ODL is doing what it's supposed to do. Now, for whatever reason, integrating stablecoins is a great thing. David Schwartz said we need premium stablecoins on the XRP ledger.
We have started a major effort to integrate DEX use into ODL. We have started a major effort to integrate DEX use into ODL, and that would include being able to trade against AMMs.
I think one thing that will make that more practical, what we really, really need on the XRP ledger is a fantastic like US dollar stablecoin, Euro stablecoin. If we had really good stablecoins in the major currencies, which we don't have yet, then using the DEX would be more practical. So that's also something that we're hoping will happen. We came very, very close to that. We had a deal that I thought was going to close, and then that was 2.5 years ago when the SEC filed suit against us, and so that kind of torpedoed that deal. So we'll see. But we're talking to banks and larger financial institutions about trying to get them to launch some premium stable coins to make that more practical.
So it would make sense that there's some kind of stable coins on RippleNet ODL. That's how it is now. It will get expanded, but it's not there to drive the price of XRP. It's there to drive the liquidity of XRP, because if you get XRP as liquid to as many assets as possible, that's the goal. That's what ODL is doing, but it's not yet running through its main liquidity source. And then instead of incentivizing market makers and other entities, it's going to come on ledger. Now, here's where it gets, and I want to be clear here, that not every institution or entity is going to go into and directly interact with these pools. They're at the blockchain lowest layer, and they're there for a reason, so that applications can be abstracted that make it so that they don't have to interact directly. And there could be private pools and synthetic pools that route into the XRP ledger's DEX. Like there could be a whole RippleNet order book of all things, and it aggregates the prices from the DEX, but it ultimately feeds through there. Like that's just an example I'm thinking, because you might not, the privacy and all that stuff, it will just get routed by Prisma. That's what Prisma is designed to do. Intelligently route the ODL flow and liquidity hub. So that's the other thing, is we need these stable coins on the ledger. So how can we have deep pools of liquidity if we don't have premium stablecoins that are KYC regulated and could continuously issue them? Like if you want deep liquidity with XRP, you need just as much fiat on the other side. So then the arbitrager's got to go get that fiat from somewhere. So that's missing. So I'm not saying this is like all done and ready to go and we're going to go kaboom tomorrow. It's going to be gradual. And like David Schwartz said, you can't predict time. We don't know, but this is providing the sustainable with all the participants' incentives aligned, and it's profitable and makes XRP an investment, and it maximizes its utility as liquidity while creating a new financial instrument as a share of an AMM. So it has nothing to do with Ripple. There's no regulatory issue with this. There's absolutely nothing regulators can do. If you're trading through the pool and you trade into a regulated stablecoin, you can't even make that trade unless you have a trust line to them. To get that trust line, you're going to need authorization. Authorization will come with a requirement for KYC, AML. And that will be, in the future, fairly easy to do once there's digital identity, digital identifiers. You can easily verify. You don't even have to provide all your data. And we'll have on-ramps and off-ramps, a whole slew of them, right on Ledger. So this leads me to the second thing that's missing. We do not have premium blue chip cryptos on the XRP Ledger that are there decentralized. They're not bridge decentralized. We don't have a Bitcoin XRP or Bitcoin stablecoin trading pair that's decentralized and brought over. That's missing. In an interview from last year, David Schwartz said that it will be facilitated through trustless gateways. So I don't know exactly how, but my thinking is through the EVM sidechain will be a way, but we'll see how that's going to work. But that's going to be necessary, and that might need to be incentivized. Like, we're going to need XRP paired to those assets. That's the point of Liquidity Hub. So Liquidity Hub is there to go connect XRP to all these other assets. So thinking, oh, it doesn't use XRP is kind of ridiculous, because obviously that's at the center of everything. The North Star for Prisma, for Ripple, for everything is XRP. Like, there's no question there. I do suggest, if you don't understand some of the technical stuff, go to their learning portal. RippleX has made a effort to educate the community. The influencers have not picked up on it, not picked up on institutional DeFi, not picked up on the AMM. Some have picked up on the AMMs, but they really don't understand it. Because if you have never really participated in AMM, how can you explain it? You can't. So be careful of that. And if somebody's not even experimented with it, doesn't mean they got to go all in. But I think that, if you're in this now, it's time to get familiar with DeFi, because that's the future financial system. You're just an early pioneer, and it's complex and it's difficult. It's clunky, but it's going to get easier. It's going to be less and less cold storage, hardware wallets and seed phrases, and more smart accounts, account abstraction, programmable accounts, and AI that are going to allow you to do all these different things. In the future, you could see smart lockers that will be able to aggregate based on the data of how it allocates your portfolio in different pools on the XRP ledger to maximize profits. And then maybe there's some rewards program from some DApp that's distributing a token to this pool, and then it moves some of your portfolio there. Like, these are the things in the future. We can't fathom what type of new primitives are coming along. But these are money Legos. That's the future financial system. Just because the BIS did a pilot with AMMs, they couldn't even figure out how to even set the damn AMM up. They didn't know how to figure out the governance, who's going to control it. It's built to be controlled by nobody. If you try to take that primitive then and change it, you lose the purpose of it. And then you're going to create pairs between every fiat of every fiat. That kind of recreates the whole situation all over again. Somebody's got to provide liquidity. Like, there is a drawbacks to AMMs. Like, the drawback is it's leaving idle funds just sitting there, right? I mean, to an extent, it does do that. But with things like XRP, you're allowed to extract that value as the LP token, and it's capital efficient, and then you'll use that. That's what's different than Nostros. With Nostros, it's just stuck there. This, you have the LP token. That's what's the composable nature and why this is a more efficient system. CBDCs will come along, but they're going to be slow. That's not going to be dictating the future. That will follow. How that all falls in place, I don't know. We have to observe. And as time goes on, you observe, things will change. But right now, Ethereum staking is the first economic model. You have to accept that. As much as you might despise for whatever reason, that is it's deflationary, except up until this month. But it's extracting value from the users to enrich the token holders. Now, XRP is not doing that. But in the future, I would say 18 months, 24, 36 months from now, 48 months, you'll see a lot of analysis reports comparing the two assets as investments. And SEC investment, it doesn't matter. It's a new asset class. It has properties of an investment, obviously. It's programmable. It's superior money because it's fixed supply, but it's not just a currency. It's not a commodity. It's not a stock. It's something new. And remember, I'm talking about, and even these reports recently, like the CFA Institute, is focusing only on layer 1 networks with native crypto assets. That is the class of assets. So when you're not financial advice putting together investments, an asset that's issued as a token is a very different asset than a native network. And I think the SEC and a lot of lingo that's been out there has made it seem like, oh, if Ethereum's got a free pass, then all the ERC20s are not securities. No, no, that's not how it works. Now, can ERC20s and issued assets have value? Absolutely. And they could have particular use cases, and they can rise very high price, and they could have continued, and they could have yield too. But they don't have the intrinsic value of the underlying blockchain. And that's when we're at such an early stage right now. Those are high risk investments and bets. Not some are different than others. Like an Aave is more mature than other issued assets, Uni, Link, other ones. Even though, but they still don't have intrinsic value of the underlying blockchain. Like, for example, Link. It doesn't have an underlying blockchain. It doesn't have that intrinsic value. So it will never be comparable to XRP, in my opinion, because it doesn't have that. It has a bunch of disparate, decentralized Oracle networks that are questionably centralized, but it's getting used. It's getting used. There's a demand for it to be staked, but doesn't have the intrinsic value of the underlying protocols. And therefore, it will never be able to get up there like that. And this whole, like, if you're in it just to swing trade and pumps and play the market price, that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about fundamental value analysis over a longer term. What's its value going to be? And this is driving a fundamental value. And that's what Susan Athey called their paper, because even there, 5 years ago, they weren't even at this point. I would love to see a new version of it that took into account this liquidity pool. Maybe they will do it, because technically it's not Ripple doing any of this stuff. That Ripple having still possession of the escrow, I think, is still deterring certain investments. And now that you're putting a automated moneymaker investment at the center of the network, it doesn't make sense to have that stigma where one entity has control of a large amount. They don't need that large amount. They could earn XRP too. So it just makes sense that some proposal in the future is put out to where that's, the question is, how do you distribute it? I mean, there's a multitude of ways. And you know, if they keep a little for themselves every month, that's fine, but it has to be significantly lower, and it has to be not going to them to do what they want. And already right now, it doesn't go to them and they say, oh, well, we're going to do this month with it. It goes out based on crypto conditions, which are smart contracts that are after it releases from the escrow. And maybe there's an option some entities had, but there's definitely no allocating to banks and all. Like, there's some hyperbole out there that some people I've heard that say, oh, this billions are to this banks and this one. Like, maybe in the early days, maybe they've been in agreement or two here at the R3. You know, they got a couple billion. They got at least 1 billion, because in the court docs, it said they settled for at least an option. It was an option to buy at that 30-something price. So, I mean, did they exercise that option? I don't know. R3 just laid off 20% of their staff. So I don't know if they had the money to buy XRP, honestly. So it's in, you know, this happened also 2 years ago. So they might have it, they might not. They might have not have exercised it. And I don't know if it expired. But I think something's got to give with that. And those incentives need to be just like every other network. It needs a clearly defined tokenomics of where the supply is going, because there's a gray area, and it was needed to build out that RippleNet, the hosting and all that, and the whole infrastructure there to support the volume running through the ledger. Now, Ripple IPO, that's not happening. Like, anyone who thinks they're going to IPO through a legacy is not paying attention to what's taking place. Xology and SuperHow and Ripple, well, Xology is the collaboration between SuperHow, which is the Lithuanian blockchain infrastructure specialist that worked with the BIS and part of the Lithuanian government, is building a securities settlement sidechain. It's not just any old security settlement. This is under the EU DLT regime pilot, meaning it's regulatory compliant, and they're going to be a market operator of this thing. And it's going to allow retail too. And certain exemptions can be made, but it's going to be live securities that are going to be settled and traded. And it will use the same protocols underneath it, the AMM and the DEX. But maybe the AMMs on that side chain are customized for tokenized assets and regulated assets. So this is what's the beauty of these side chains are, is you could customize the transactors and tweak the rules to fit that use case and that application specific. But that value is going to be like rocket fuel to the DeFi ecosystem, because now you want Ripple tokenized stock going around the DeFi ecosystem because it's more valuable when it can be used as collateral. Putting it as a traditional IPO on, NASDAQ makes zero sense. Honestly, it did nothing really much with Coinbase besides them raising money. Ripple, I could see tokenizing their private equity prior, and then once the regulations come into play for public tokenizing of stock, then they'll do that. That's what I see. I've thought about this more and more. I don't see any other way. There's no public roadshow. None of that's happening. Like, this is their business model is tokenization. The Federal Reserve just came out with a paper on tokenization. Once Gensler is out of there and the EU is doing this regime pilot, the UK is doing the same thing. They're basically sandboxes with the existing regulations, but they don't have to worry about enforcement actions, and they're able to do it on DLT, but they have to settle with a regulated stablecoin or CBDC or regulated fiat. So you're not going to have XRP settling everything. And this is why a lot of people say, oh, the derivatives market, XRP is in the capture. No, it's not. Derivatives aren't going to settle in XRP. Do you know where XRP will be used in derivatives? The derivatives that are built off the AMM and the lending and borrowing market with the LP token, that's where you'll see XRP used in derivatives. Let me repeat that. The derivatives market in the legacy account-based system doesn't need XRP to settle it faster. That's what stablecoins could do in tokenized world. But the DeFi derivatives market that involves XRP's liquidity pool tokens and borrowing and lending market next to it, that is going to have now multiple derivatives built around it because people are going to want to hedge perpetuals, options, futures, all different types, synthetic assets, all different types of derivatives will form around that. That will be the derivatives market, but it will be much bigger and transparent as time goes because it's all at the network layer that liquidity is. It's built on top then in the application layer. So now it leaves open the freedom for creativity and the building blocks and composability. That's what makes DeFi, which is the predominant use case for crypto right now. XRP community, you can believe whatever you want, but that's the predominant use case is DEXs. David Schwartz said that. Number one use case, crypto. Then after that is probably borrowing and lending. Payments, somewhat, but until we're in a tokenized world, ODL is never going to be able to be a liquidity solution for the globe because you got to go between account-based and tokenized. But when you're in a tokenized blockchain world, it's much easier to create distributed applications across them. So with securities, we could see those used in lending and borrowing against them. As Zoe Cruz said in the last video, the Arthur Brito video, if you could collateralize something, it means it gives it more value. So XRP LP tokens with, say, a fiat or a Bitcoin or with other, or with ETH even, or with a tokenized asset, gives it more value. You can use XRP as itself as collateral, but it's less volatile if you put it in a liquidity pool with USD and then use the LP token as collateral. your chances of liquidation are cut in half, basically, almost cut in half mathematically, and it's yield bearing. So those are the things we need to look for. And I know this is definitely a little ahead of what a lot of people are talking about, and maybe go over the top of heads of some of the people here, but I know, and I read the comments. I don't comment on every one of them because I'm trying to understand this myself so that I can explain this to all of you. And it takes me a lot of time to digest it myself to explain it. Because just reading it and grasping it is different than explaining it. Explaining it's even much harder. So it takes a lot of time, but I think we're there. Like, this is what we've been waiting for. Then it's going to come down to implementing different strategies, and everyone will have a different opinion on that. Be prepared that people might have different opinions on how they want to use their XRP. Because right now, the pet rock, nobody's fighting over anything, because there's no, it's like cold storage, or like there's nothing you could really do. Even though there is a thirst for lending and borrowing, the limited market that's there, I looked into it, and the numbers are very high in demand. The use for XRP in AMMs is one use case. It's the predominant one. It's going to be the main one because it's put at the heart of the network. But staking XRP on the EVM sidechain will earn, I don't know what it will earn, but it will earn something. But it'll be locked on the main chain and issued as XRP. That'll give it a staking model. It's not its predominant model, but it's ancillary off to the side. It adds diversity. The burn to mint adds diversity. It's burning XRP out of existence onto a new ledger where it could be programmable. Like Zahao with hooks and Evernode is going to ramp up quick, and it'll have AMMs too once it's passed on the mainnet and at DEX. So, it's going to be very interesting. And the EVM sidechain is not just, some rinky-dink sidechain. That's been in the works for years. Where do you think Forte is going to pop out of from? And all the things that have been underneath the surface. And this gives XRP its EVM side. There's 160, I think, or 150 EVM layer 1 chains. That's a lot. Now, we're going to have one right besides the XRP ledger. So in a way, the way Aaron McDonald, then there's the third is Futureverse. XRP is the gas token. Root tokens are native to the Root network of Futureverse, a roll-up of 9 companies building the open metaverse. And the Fluff World community, which is an existing community. XRP's the reward token for those who stake the governance token Root. Now, every gas fee has to be paid in XRP. They don't have to go acquire it. It gets automatically swapped into XRP and rewarded to the validators. That means every pool, and it'll be integrated directly with the AMM on the XRP ledger, which is fascinating, and it will have its own DEX. It's already minted 4 million NFTs on the XRP ledger as of Crypto Erie's recent video. That's a direct integration. So even though it's a layer 1 of its own, it's kind of acting like a layer 2 to XRP. And as I heard Aaron McDonald say that, and I thought about it, the EVM sidechain in a way is going to be, I think, similar, where it's its own layer 1 and it's independent with its own consensus, but it could also act as kind of like a layer 2 to the mainnet XRP ledger. So, that's speculation there, but that's grounded in, what's going on. It'll be interesting to see how that develops. So that's something to keep an eye on that really expands the ecosystem, because these are network of networks and they're starting to come into their own now. It's been a young market, but a young industry. These are infrastructures that just public utilities that run on their own, but they get built and they don't go down. They just keep going and going. But there's a lot of trial and error. No one blockchain can do everything. 70,000 transactions a second. Solana can't do everything. There's no winner takes all. There's no even going to be a few winners. There's going to be a network of app chains connected to a main network with a reserve asset. There could be different models, like look at Cosmos. They don't have really a reserve asset. Atom, kind of, but it's not at the center. XRP will be at the center. Like Ethereum, ETH is at the center. Bitcoin doesn't have any of that. Bitcoin, I don't even want to have a conversation, but it's doing the digital gold thing right now, but we'll see where that goes. The pace that these are moving, like there's a lot of building going on all the networks, from Near to Phantom to Hedera to Algorand to, they're just consistent building, and the composability as they get more robust, more secure, and they produce then more real world applications as more data could come in. So that's why Flare is building for a future. They don't care if you think the price is going to not go up right now. You same with XRP. The price is not the focus, even though that's your focus, a lot of you, not everybody's, but in the immediate term. Because there'll be other users and other investors, and the goal is to create sustainable financial market infrastructure with different use cases that are able to produce the internet of value and Web3, which is to move value the way information moves today and democratizes finance. Remember this, Ripple's whole vision is the internet of value. You stay rooted in what that means, democratizing finance, fairness, decentralized. There's a whole book written called The Internet of Value. When all these speculation and wild theories come out, if you just looked at that book, you'd be like, whoa, noise, and you would just look away, because that is the vision. It's always been. It's not banks, it's not the elite system, the chosen and all that. That's just distraction. It's to democratize finance, and you are mission critical to that. But you are getting handed on a silver platter an automated money machine that Ripple put in all the time, effort to build, all the organic volume to run through to produce that revenue that XRP's utility as liquidity will generate. And then you get back this super premium asset. So instead of just being a receipt to get your claim of your assets, you get another asset. And this is capital efficient. And this is what allows an economy to develop. And we need stable coins because we need to have diverse assets. Everything can be done in XRP. You don't want everything using XRP. What announcement to this day, I'm gonna ask right now, that something's using XRP has done anything to the price? But meanwhile, that's what everyone's hanging, like, just waiting for. Like, there's gonna be some magical announcement that they're all gonna use XRP, and then its price is gonna go really high. That's not gonna happen. Like, even if there's, and Ripple doesn't even say that we're targeting banks to use XRP, but the community keeps thinking they are. Finastra, Temenos, these banking softwares, they just are integrators into the RippleNet system. They are not the focus. I've seen some videos on that, and I was like, oh man, that's not the focus. ISO 2022, not the focus. Banks aren't sending crypto payments to each other. It's not. PSPs are sending XRP across to each other. Now, can banks use XRP through Prisma? Yes. So I do want to clarify there. There might be loopholes around how XRP could be used by banks technically without them holding on their balance sheet. But it's going to have such a minimal impact. That's not going to do much for the price. That would get maybe their, toes wet or something. It's not like they're going to drain the nostros and put all into XRP. Was that a plan one day, or a vision one day long ago? Yes. Did it pan out? No. So it's irrelevant now. And Interledger is progressing. The idea is still to connect the open in a ledger. So I think that we can see an application layer of this distributed exchange that Prisma is, that taps into the underlying liquidity pipelines, which are for the Internet of Value. I haven't brought it out yet because we're not quite there to talk about it, but after I get a good series of these out, like another month worth, and people really start understanding it, there's a specific PDF out there. And if you want to, if anyone wants to look into it that understands this, it's called Decentralizing Trust in the Internet of Value. And it literally is like the roadmap for what is being built here. It shows how there's an asset registry, a value exchange that's built on the blockchain. It explains how dApps will play a role. It explains how smart contracts will fit in, kind of. And it's part of the UBRI and South Korea university and government. So very interesting. There's a couple different versions of it. There's a 2019 version, a 2021 version that are like all based on the same one. But at the heart of it is this blockchain-based value exchange. That's the XRP ledger. But Prisma is the aggregator. That's what they needed to build. And they realized, like, okay, if everyone can't trade on the ledger, we still need to have the ability to have a distributed exchange. And in 2018, 2019, that's when they acquired Algorithm. They started building that, and they knew data, machine learning, AI, all goes with that. So these Coinbases, these Krakens, those are just like, there'll probably be a few big primary ones, but you'll start to see that the blockchains will eat up more of the liquidity. And I don't think the exchanges will ever go away, but it'll be a combination of on-chain trading and then just connecting to all these different ones. And that's what Liquidity Hub is meant to do, is to connect to whatever source. But the goal is to provide the liquidity on the ledger. That's the North Star of Prisma. In the documents, it says it 2 times, and the guy iterates. I don't know who it is who's speaking, but he goes, I'm going to say it again. Prisma's North Star is creating organic, natural liquidity for XRP. There is no more natural liquidity than liquidity on the XRP ledger for XRP paired to premium stablecoins and other assets. And we need tokenized carbon credits. We're going to see other type of energy credits and renewables and commodities, and real estate tokenization is definitely coming. So if they could be out in front with that, all that value gets wrapped up into the institutional DeFi, and XRP is the reserve currency at the center. Does it get to some stable price maybe one day? Maybe, who knows, who cares? It doesn't need to be stable. Having a stable price for XRP is not going to be a good thing. You do not want a stable price, because the design of the AMMs is explicitly designed where it harvests volatility to earn yield. So it's the exact opposite of stable. Stable is boring. Who would want to hold that? What did you get fiat for? What's the point? So we're making something out bigger than it is, and it needs to prove itself as an ecosystem and as a liquidity solution, a primary market. Then with these CBDC private ledgers, they're testing only institutional grade DeFi applications. And it's very hard to test that type of stuff. So they have the platforms to test it with CBDCs, but that's down the road, it's coming. But there's other participants in there. And as they build out security settlement, and you have the liquidity at the bottom, liquidity at the foundation, the lifeblood. Once you have that there with regulated stablecoins, you'll start to see development and enterprise applications built all around it. This EVM sidechain might have some enterprise aspects to it, which will be great. Maybe SBI builds a sidechain for a specific category of trade finance or supply chain or something else. But that creates the ecosystem, and it needs to happen, fairly, not overnight, but in the next few years. And we still have to go through all that. And tokenization is going to be, and it says it in the CFA report.
Crypto is our rebellion. It is a rebellion against a system that is unworthy of its authority. It's our rebellion against coercion and servitude. It is our rebellion against the economically ignorant, the endlessly imperious, and the ethically impotent. Crypto is our rebellion against permission, and it is no less than a noble reclamation of dignity and grace as free and sovereign individuals in the service of peaceful civilization. That is why we are here. For the truth is that we don't require permission to build great things from those petty tyrants who build nothing. And this was the very principle on which America was founded. Do we care about society? Yes, of course. Deep in our bones, we care about society. Many of us are here because we see widespread economic injustice in the world and we want to help. We live amid society, we benefit from it, and we owe our efforts toward its improvement. But unlike any politician who mandates compliance with his ideas at the point of a gun, we are here to build peacefully, and we impose on no one. So do not let the status tell you that you do not care about rules or society. For you are building a superior technology for rules within society, and it is they, the politicians, the regulators, the leeching, plundering class of Washington, D.C., who should be praising your fine work in the realm of order and rulemaking. Compared to what we are building, they are the agents of chaos. They are the people printing billions of dollars and then pretending not to know where inflation comes from. For them to claim the moral or intellectual high ground in any matter of economics is absurd. They could at least have the decency to get out of the way. To be sure, our enemies are numerous. There are many who find the idea of open, permissionless finance to be abhorrent, for they're used to controlling things that they haven't built, and now finally they can't. And for the rest of us, for those radicals who don't impose their opinions upon millions of innocent people by force, how optimistic we can be, how bright the light of opportunity shines for everyone who has discovered this permissionless Promethean fire. How much brilliant creative energy is captured in this single room. Yes, we endure seemingly endless setbacks and struggle. Yes, scammers abound. Yes, we are condemned by the system that we aim to replace. Some of us endure persecution, and all of us periodically pain. But friends, try to see through those struggles. Be grateful for every noble challenge that you face in your work, for you are alive and your work is important. Be grateful for this opportunity in front of you, wild and romantic. These words still define the heart of crypto. And in a world of bureaucratic, soul-crushing absurdity, where society seems to be eating itself, grinding to dust all those who dare stand as individuals against an arcane apparatus, this wild and romantic heart of crypto still beats block by block with unrelenting ambition. Stand tall and remember that you are neither slave nor serf. In America, the common man is the noble. So act like it. Be men and women of vitality, integrity, and of proud disposition. Be the pioneering industrialist and reflect the nobility of that role. Build with intention and see through every form of lowly interference, especially if it comes wearing flags and demanding tribute. Any regulator can submit a pull request. That they don't is telling. The traditional intralegal financial territory was lost long ago to the political circus. So now we venture into a new territory that we've built extra-legal and permissionless. Here in this new land, west of the old, we admit only a subservience to moral virtue, to mathematics, and to the awesome power of open, composable, immutable code. In our audacity, we build things and force them on no one. And we have invented, not just on the clean whiteboard of imagination, but in the dirty cauldron of real engineering, the world's first and only transparent, objective financial system for all mankind. We built it without a dollar of tax money, and we built it without permission. Consider what it means to be in opposition to this development, to be opposed to objective, transparent rule sets and voluntary association among consenting adults, to demand the compliance and submission of peaceful people at the point of a gun. Examine those who act like that, and you will discover where those enemies of humanity so pitifully lay. They are done ignoring us. They're certainly still laughing at us, and they've obviously started to fight us. But we will win, ethical arguments aside, because man is a capitalist creature, and capital flows where it is respected. Like water, it flows where it may. And as the permissions of the fiat system constrain and strangle, so our open, decentralized alternative stands ready to receive it. True innovation is messy, sometimes veering in unhelpful directions and back again. But capital will flow to well-ordered, decentralized finance as water flows indelibly to the sea, and both will happen naturally, and both will happen without permission. Thank you.
You